you. I'm so happy you're all here. It's just incredibly taxing for me, emotionally and physically. I have all of this water and a towel. You can look at this, not a gym towel. This is a full shower-sized towel, just in case I sweat out my entire body weight and become incredibly dehydrated while speaking with you tonight. I am an extremely anxious person. I've spent my entire life being anxious. Over the years, I've been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, ADHD, you name it. Every year they find something new. For me, going to therapy feels like taking my car into the shop. I always make the appointment because I'm having one specific problem. But then I get there, and they're like, we found 34. You should strip this thing down and sell it for parts. I don't like therapy. I've tried to take things into my own hands. I take a lot of those online assessments that'll just tell you what's wrong with you so that you can skip therapy. But they keep diagnosing me with this thing called, you are not alone, call this crisis hotline or head to the nearest hospital immediately. So, inconclusive. My therapist gave me homework recently, and it was to go to the beach. So, pretty sure she thinks I'm gonna kill myself. We're at the point where she's given up, and she just wants me to see the sights one last time before I go. I'm paying this therapist hundreds of dollars to give me the same prescription as a woman dying of scarlet fever in the 1800s. But who needs Lexapro when you have the old Victorians stand by? Live at the sea. I don't know if all of you are mentally ill. This is LA, so I presume yes. But there are moments in my life where I think about how much therapy I've gone to and how many medications I've tried, how many full-size shower towels I've used, and I just think, why am I not getting better, you know? A few years ago, I barricaded myself into a bathroom at a party, and I thought, what happened to my brain? And how did I get here? Both in life and in this bathroom. Was it something that happened to me when I was younger? You know, they say it starts with the parents, but my childhood was pretty epic. I have two moms. A lot of people think Viva Rose is my stage name. It's not. I was just raised by lesbians. They're very dramatic. My full name is Genevieve Ursula Rose. My moms got so excited someone let them have a kid that they acted like a 5-year-old girl who just got her first doll. If you guys were wondering what American Girl dolls would look like if gay people designed them, that was me. I had a bowl cut and wore top to bottom denim until I was 5. I asked my moms why they named me Genevieve, and they said it's because my mom went into labor while they were in the movie theater watching Titanic. And Genevieve means white wave. So they named me after the iceberg. That would be like watching The Little Mermaid and naming me after the evil voice-stealing sea witch Ursula. Oh. Not many people can say that they're named after not one, but 2 villains of the sea. I posted that joke online, and someone commented, 3 villains. Rose had enough room on that door for Jack. I think the best part of having gay parents is there's no question of whether or not they really wanted to have me, you know? Like, I was not an accident. It literally cost thousands of dollars to implant me. And now I think I'm better than everyone else. My moms are very supportive of me because I was expensive. Which is great, but it also made me delusional. When I was 5 years old, I wrote Emma Watson a letter suggesting that we partner up for a passion project together. Just 2 iconic women taking Hollywood by storm. My moms were like, do it. Emma Watson would be lucky to work with you. You're a genius. I don't have a a dad, in case one of you wasn't quick enough to do the math on that one. All of my friends have dads, though, and it seems like it really bums them out. Whenever my friends are having mental breakdowns about how their dads don't communicate with them, I like to do this bit where I act like me not having a dad was a personal choice. I'm just like, he didn't text you on your birthday, could never be me, dump his ass. Oh, he pays for your car insurance? Sounds toxic. One of the first things that I learned about dads when I was growing up is that every dad has his own chair. Are you guys familiar with this phenomenon? Whenever I'd go over to my friends' houses, there was always one large, superior reclining chair in every straight couple's living room. And my friends would always whisper, "You can't sit there, that's my dad's special chair." And I was like, "I'm sorry, straight men can call dibs on furniture?" But that's when I learned it's just because they're not allowed to pick out anything else. How did I get in this bathroom? Let's start at the beginning of the night. I get invited to my friend Anne's party. The invitation says that the party starts at 8 p.m., so I get there at 8 p.m. I know it sounds insane, but if you get to a party at the exact start time, it's a guarantee you can say hi to the host, crack a few jokes, and get out before the party really gets going. This way you're not dragged into a long, boring conversation with a total weirdo, because I've already left. I personally am certain that I've had anxiety since I was 13 years old. I remember in middle school, some girls got huge tits, and I got huge cortisol levels. Off the charts. I wasn't diagnosed with anything until I was an adult, though, because when you're a kid and you have anxiety, teachers just think you're a go-getter. My report cards would always say things like, "Viva keeps turning in her homework 3 months early. She's so committed to her education." I was like, I need to be committed to a hospital. This is a cry for help. One of my teachers said to my parents during a parent-teacher conference, "Viva asks a lot of questions." They were like, "She has a thirst for knowledge." He said, "No, she keeps asking where the emergency exits are. She wants to know if we have an earthquake kit." High school definitely made my anxiety worse. Maybe that's how I got here. I'm from Palo Alto, California. Okay. For those of you who don't know Palo Alto, it's where Facebook was invented. Stanford University is there. Huge tech town. Everyone in Palo Alto is a genius. My freshman year of high school, they made us take career aptitude tests, and my results said that based on my intelligence compared to my classmates, I was best suited to become a truck driver. Which was pretty bleak if you actually think about it, because driving a truck was actually one of the only skills that they could not test for on that written exam. They were like, "The unknown is safest for you. Your brain isn't working. Why don't you try doing something with your hands?" And I was pretty bummed to get those results at the age of 14. I was like, I'm gonna be so much more than a truck driver. Pretty rude claim for someone without a regular driver's license at the time. And now I am a broke comedian, and UPS drivers won their strike, and they make 6 figures. So let this be a lesson to all of you to not try to prove your haters wrong. I find out from Anne's boyfriend that Anne has gone out to Ralph's to buy more cups. Poor planning. So I now have to wait for Anne to get back in order to prove that I came, which could be another hour, and at that point I might actually have to attend a party. There's surprisingly already like 8 people at this party, just showed up exactly on time, very nervous energy. And then I see a guy with a long ponytail standing in the corner of the living room by himself. I have this bad habit at parties where I choose to talk to the person who looks the most uncomfortable to be there, because in my head, that's how I feel. The only problem is I feel uncomfortable at parties in like a cute way, and the person I go talk to feels uncomfortable at parties because they're a psychopath and no one can figure out who invited them. I just have such a soft spot for anyone who looks like they don't fit in or anyone who looks lonely, you know? I did have one kind of huge traumatic thing happen. Take a bunch of these. My junior year of high school, there was a series of suicides committed by my fellow high schoolers. Most of these were done by jumping in front of Caltrain, a high-speed train that ran through the entire Bay Area. But what else is new? Rich people ruining public transportation for everyone else. James Franco's from Palo Alto? Yeah, and it turns out he was the cause. No. I know people have bad things to say about James Franco, but he's all about staying humble and returning to his roots, which he claims is why he spends so much time at his old high school. Whenever people would find out that James Franco was from Palo Alto, they would always be like, "Oh my God, have you ever met him?" And I would say, "Of course. It's super easy to meet him. I'm a 16-year-old girl." I can't stop meeting James Franco. James Franco actually sent me a letter asking if I wanted to partner up for a passion project. Wasn't quite what I had in mind, so I had to respectfully decline. And look, I'm not saying that James Franco caused the suicides, but the timeline is suspicious. In 2014, thank you for asking, James Franco was kind enough to come back to his alma mater, Palo Alto High School. I say come back, as if he wasn't already there, driving through the pickup line. But James was kind enough to paint a series of inspirational murals all over Palo Alto High School. 1 month later, the suicides started, and a few months after that, the principal of Palo Alto High School released a statement in the newspaper saying that they were sorry to James Franco and that they appreciated his creative efforts, but that they were going to paint over the murals because they were depressing the high school students. Imagine making art so bad it makes people want to kill themselves. My favorite part about this whole story is, can anyone guess what movie James Franco started working on immediately after all of this happened? It was The Disaster Artist. Thank you so much. When the suicides happened, I was 16 years old, and I became incredibly depressed. People I spent every day with were suddenly just gone, and for every suicide, there was a chain reaction of relationships that were torn apart due to mental illness. I remember being so in love with this guy, and he finally asked me to go to the homecoming dance with him. And we went, and it went amazing, and we were just about to make our relationship official. And 2 days later, his best friend killed himself. And I stepped up to be his support. I said, "I'm so sorry. I can't possibly imagine how you feel. So can you please clarify if we are exclusive now?" Your text about feeling out the vibes was confusing. We did not keep seeing each other. The pressure in Palo Alto was so high. The priority was to be the best at something and to get into an Ivy League school. And if you didn't fit into that small window, you just felt worthless. So when one kid took action over his bad feelings, we all started to think, oh, this is a legitimate option. A few months later, I drove to the train station, a suicide note in hand. There were several Twilight metaphors in it. One line I distinctly remember writing was, "I wish I had some driving force to keep me going, a reason to live, like Edward's love for Bella." Which is a crazy thing to say for many reasons, but mainly because I don't know if you guys are familiar with how vampires work, but Edward Cullen is already dead. All I can say is I'm really glad I didn't go through with it. I'm a way better writer now. I'm joking, if I kill myself today, I'm using AI. Who has the time? I don't know what it was, but as soon as I got there, I just knew in my heart that I couldn't go through with it. So I called my best friend, and I told her where I was, what I was doing. She came to get me. I felt so stupid, you know? I grew up in Palo Alto, a city full of overachievers. And here I was, adding suicide to the list of activities everyone else was better at. So I'm in the living room talking to Ponytail, his name is Martin, about the history of Reddit. Any soft spot I had for this man has been demolished. More people are showing up to this party, and the living room is starting to get crowded. I start to sweat a lot because I don't like to be stuck in small rooms with large groups of people. It's kind of my worst nightmare. Thank you guys so much for being here, by the way. By the time I got to college, I knew I needed to go on some kind of medication. I would get to class and immediately need to change into a second pair of clothing because I was sweating so much. I tried to play it off like I was Hannah Montana. I'd wear really fancy clothes for the sweaty outfit, and then when I got to class, I would sprint to the bathroom and change into something casual, trying to start the rumor that I was a secret pop star living an ordinary double life. Which I think is a beautiful metaphor for being mentally ill. Everyone thinks I'm just an ordinary girl, but I actually have this super cool alter ego where I'm clinically psychotic. It really is the best of both worlds. So I went to see a psychiatrist, and she was like, I think you might be having panic attacks, but we'll have to test that theory out with some different medications. So she prescribed me anti-anxiety medicine, and as it turns out, I am just incredibly sweaty. Yeah, that was not one of my symptoms of anxiety. Starting Lexapro when I was 18 was a lifesaver for me though. But here I am, barricading myself into a bathroom, so clearly it isn't working. Martin asks me if everything's okay. I say no, I don't understand why anyone would enjoy this. Martin says, this party? I say, yeah, I don't really like people. Thank you guys so much for being here, by the way. Martin says, I work from home and it's nice to be given the opportunity to meet new friends. I try to ignore the fact that Martin has decided we're friends. I say, sure, it's just like parties aren't like a real way to make friends. They're just an excuse for people to brag about everything they've accomplished recently. Martin says, what's wrong with people accomplishing things? I say there's nothing wrong with people accomplishing things, Martin. It's just that I haven't accomplished anything yet. So I come to a party like this, I spend 20 minutes talking to the dumbest person I've ever met, and then I find out that she just sold a pilot. And I should be happy for her, but instead it just makes me so sad and confused and angry as to how people so much dumber than me can crack this career and I can't. I have a hard time feeling happy because I'm constantly comparing myself to other people. We all do it. 6 months before this party, my therapist asked me to start doing something called sympathetic joy. Does anybody know what this is? One mentally ill person. Sympathetic joy is a meditation where you practice feeling happy for the success of others. Or as I like to call it, meditation for wildly unsuccessful people. My therapist asked me to start doing this because she said I have a jealous personality type. I was like, oh, what a therapeutic way of saying you think I'm a cunt. The way it works is, you start by practicing feeling happy for the success of people you love, right? Easy. Then it progresses to harder, and you have to practice feeling happy for the success of people you hate. So I start the track for the first time, and it goes, think about the people you love, the people close to you. I'm like, okay. Then it goes, now think about all of the wonderful things they've accomplished and say out loud, I'm so happy for them. So I'm thinking about my friends and everything they've accomplished. And doing this made me realize just how badly I'm doing in life. Because I don't even have a successful friend. I was like, damn, if I had hitched my wagon to more talented people in Hollywood, I would not be sitting here practicing a basic emotion like I'm a fucking alien. I was so bad at practicing sympathetic joy that my therapist sent me to get tested for ADHD a week later. Martin looks at me. He says, "You have hidden gem syndrome." I say, "Please don't diagnose me with another mental illness right now." I get tested for ADHD. After I take the test, I have to meet with the psychologist so that she can explain my test results to me. This real doctor FaceTimes me in the middle of the day without any warning, and before I can say anything, she screams into the phone, "You have the fastest brain speed we've ever seen. You know you're a genius, right?" And I was like, no. If I knew I was a genius, I wouldn't be getting tested for ADHD as an adult. Clearly things aren't going great. I didn't know that having a fast brain speed was a real thing outside of like detective procedurals to explain how they could solve a new murder every episode. I was like, "Are you saying I'm Monk from the TV show Monk?" She goes, "Essentially, yes." Then she asked me what I do for no money, and I said, "I'm a comedian." And she just goes, "You're Robin Williams." And I was like, okay, first of all, you cannot tell me I'm Monk and Robin Williams. That's simply too much mental illness for me to fathom. Second of all, if you're a licensed psychologist, you can't be going around giving out diagnoses through celebrity comparison. You can't be like, "I'm gonna put you on an involuntary hold because you're giving Charles Manson vibes." I do not understand how this woman is a real doctor, sorry. I'm so happy for her. She went to school and she got a really hard degree. She keeps going. She's like, "Robin Williams was a genius and he had ADHD and he would riff off of every little thing in front of him and he would crack the writer's rooms up and he could never get anything finished." And again, I just personally feel like if my problem was that I couldn't stop telling so many zingers to the point where I literally couldn't get anything else done, as a comedian I would be crushing it and would not be getting tested for ADHD as an adult. Secondly, it's not a great vote of confidence to tell a depressed comedian that they're gonna turn out like Robin Williams. I'm not really worried about what he couldn't finish. I'm more worried about what he did finish. And I can make that joke because I have the same mental illness as Robin Williams. Being a genius. What's hidden gem syndrome? Martin says, "You think you have something really special to offer, you just can't seem to find the recognition you're looking for." I say, "For someone who couldn't tell I wanted this conversation to end 20 minutes ago, that's quite accurate, Martin." Martin smiles and says, "It's a term I coined to describe tech companies that prioritize product over search engine optimization." I say, "Ha ha ha, shh." We're so close to being friends. Martin asks me if I want to go get a drink. I tell Martin that I don't drink, but that he's welcome to go get a drink in a different room, far away, without me, if he'd like to. Martin says, "I don't drink. Let's see if there's any fake beer." Great. 3 months before this party, I had come to terms with the fact that I had a drinking problem. Like most alcoholics, I would have one drink, and then before I knew it, I would have 2, 3, 4, 5 new streaming services I had subscribed to. I switched to weed because when I'm high, I can't figure out how to sign up for a new account. It's tricky. I started drinking at a really young age. I think because TV shows make drinking seem really cool. Like as a kid, I thought drinking made you sexy because every time a woman got drunk on TV, a man would come and have sex with her. And I, as a child, did not understand that that was maybe not that woman's original goal for the night. I was just like, alcohol gets you a boyfriend. And you know what? Alcohol does get you a boyfriend. Because when you have a drinking problem, your standards are incredibly low. The only problem is, once I got a boyfriend, he was like, you have a drinking problem. And then I had to be like, yeah, I know. Why do you think you're dating someone so much hotter than you? Didn't think we had to have this conversation. It's a pretty high-risk scenario telling the person you're dating to get sober because they might do it and realize they've never seen your face in high definition before. I'm joking, I'm not that shallow. I also didn't like his personality. By the time I turned 21, I started blacking out every night. It was perfect timing though, because COVID happened when I was 22. And all of a sudden, none of us were alcoholics. We were all just becoming at-home mixology experts. I moved back in with my parents during COVID and shit got weird. You do a line of Adderall off your American Girl doll stomach in your childhood bedroom. You start to think about your choices. People don't tell you you have a drinking problem when you're young. People actively encourage you to drink as much as you can because you're young. If you try to quit drinking in your 20s, people treat you like you're Simone Biles pulling out of the Olympics. Everyone is like, okay, I didn't realize you're a huge pussy. I guess you hate your country and everything it stands for. Your body will never be in the same physical condition that it is in right now. You have a limited window of opportunity to do something incredible, and you're throwing it away because you're mentally ill? So I do 3 months sober. And it's great. I find out a lot about myself. I did it because I decided I wanted to get to know who I really am without substances. Unfortunately, who I really am is super annoying. Didn't know that you could be this into musical theater. I'm a runner now, that sucks. I just go for really long runs because I have so much free time. I signed up for a race, what the fuck? I was just I don't know, this would probably take 30 to 50 hours. If you guys are wondering why anyone would ever run a marathon, it's because they're sober. They just don't have another coping mechanism. It takes either blacking out or running 26.2 miles to chase the bad feelings away. I've been getting a lot of videos of runners on my Instagram, and I keep seeing this one set of videos of runners who shit themselves while finishing a marathon. You guys seen these? Yeah. I'm just wondering, at what point do we decide that that is just no longer an accomplishment? There is no limit to the physical challenges I could accomplish if you told me I was allowed to shit my pants while doing it. Turns out I am really good at anal. There are some upsides to being sober. I used to go to bars, get hammered, lose my phone. I went to a bar with some friends though, sober. Found 2 phones! Normally I'd spend $200 at the bar. This time I made $800. My anxiety is also so much better since I stopped drinking. I barely have panic attacks anymore. Unless you count me barricading myself into a bathroom at a party. We get to the kitchen. Martin starts going through the fridge first, even though there are drinks laid out on the counter, which is a choice. I don't stop him though, because there's a girl in the kitchen with us, and I can see that she is washing her disposable vape in the sink under running water. I start shouting at her, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop that right now!" She turns to me and says, "My vape overheated. I'm cooling it down." Like I'm an idiot. Martin, this is Allegra. We met on our way in. She just sold a pilot. And I'm so happy for her. Because she found an innovative new way to cool down a battery. Right at that moment, this girl I went to college with, Becca, also an idiot, enters the party with a semi-well-known comedian I'm a huge fan of. And I'm like, what is happening? A group of people come to the front door to greet Becca and this comedian. It turns out to be like 10 people I went to college with who apparently have been at this party the entire time I've been stuck with Martin and never said hi. Martin walks over and offers me a warm Dr. Pepper, and I storm off to find the bathroom. I have so many bad thoughts. Why didn't they say hi to me? Why didn't Becca, who knows I do comedy, invite me over and introduce me to this comedian she's somehow involved with? Is Martin standing outside the bathroom door waiting for me to finish? I start to scroll through Becca's Instagram from the past several years to see if I missed the part where she became friends with this comedian. This is LA. Maybe Becca's secretly a Nepo baby and she never told any of us. Classic Nepo baby behavior. God, Becca's Instagram is all photo dumps, so I have to scroll through 10 photos in every post, and so many of them are blurry photos of espresso martinis. When I was a kid, if I didn't like someone, I would tell my mom, and then that kid wouldn't be invited over anymore. We'd both go live our own lives peacefully and probably never see each other again. Now, if I don't like someone, but I've met them once, we follow each other on Instagram, and I see them every day for the rest of my life. I got an Instagram when I was 13 years old, which was 14 years ago, age reveal. And for 14 years, I have been herding this collection of every person I've ever encountered. Every person I went to high school with, every person I did extracurricular activities with, my high school teachers who didn't have any boundaries, every person who lived in Petra Hall at UCLA from 2016 to 2017, a girl whose puke I cleaned out of an Uber in 2018, every person I've ever had sex with, every person I've almost had sex with, several ex-girlfriends of men I dated who started following me as soon as I started dating their exes, and for some reason I followed them back because I was like, I don't want to not be a girl's girl. Jamila Jamil, remember that era? Every actor I've ever met in the city of Los Angeles, every singer I've ever met in the city of Los Angeles, every comedian I've ever met in the city of San Pedro. It's hard to book spots out here. People I've actively told I don't want to be friends with anymore, but still follow. My uncle's third cousin, my third cousin's cat, Alona Marr, even after she started doing Dancing with the Stars, which I think was a very questionable choice on her PR team's part. For some reason, when I got an Instagram, I decided two things. One, I have to follow back every person I've met who follows me, even if I don't like them. And two, once I follow someone, I will literally never unfollow them. I treat my Instagram like I treat my closet. I'm just like, actually, I can't get rid of any of this because every little thing here holds a memory. I've been following the 30-year-old man who tried to finger my butthole at a Zed concert since I was 14. And I've had the underwear that I was wearing when it happened since I was 9. I'm curating an archive. There's a knock on the bathroom door. A man's voice calls out, "Rebecca, are you in there?" I say, "No." I'm Viva. My friend Anne, the one hosting the party, lives in a classic Los Angeles apartment. You know, the ones last renovated in the 1950s. They have the driveway that goes underneath the apartment, and then you share that parking spot with about 17 other cars, and then the apartment just kind of like free floats over all the cars in a city very well known for earthquakes and fires. I looked it up. They're sometimes called dingbat apartments or stucco boxes. I like to call it a dreamer's prison. All this to say, Anne's apartment has some weird quirks, and one of them is a massive hole in the door for an old-timey brass key, which is perplexing because I've seen many dreamers' prisons with this brass key feature, and I was pretty sure that even in the 1950s, we had adapted our key technology past the medieval era. But I can see through the hole in the door that this man has not gone away. In fact, he starts to bend down towards the hole to look inside. But I'm not ready to come out. I need more time to understand why everyone is successful except for me. Every day, I follow the lives of 1,500 people, most of whom I don't know at all. Instagram made me creepy. I was trying to be nice by following back every person I've met who follows me. You're welcome, a few of you. But now I just stalk total strangers. It's not my fault. I wasn't born slightly off. I didn't grow up with stalker tendencies. Instagram hands you the tools you need. Instagram gives you paparazzi photos of every person you follow. For example, this girl, Bridget, is constantly posting photos with her boyfriend, Jacob. Just non-stop photo dumps. Every post is another paragraph about all of Jacob's amazing qualities, paired with photos of him kissing her cat too tenderly. But all of a sudden, Bridget is on vacation in Italy by herself. Why isn't Jacob with her? They're literally never apart. So I take a quick look at Jacob's Instagram, and I see that Jacob doesn't have any photos with Bridget on his feed, which means he either deleted all posts with her in them, or he never posted about her in the first place. I take a quick peek at their followers, and I see that Bridget still follows Jacob, but Jacob doesn't follow Bridget. So, based on my understanding of heterosexual relationships and how they manifest on social media, this is my theory. Bridget broke up with Jacob, and Jacob was very upset about it. Bridget feels guilty, so she still follows Jacob, and she kept all her lovey-dovey posts up with the hopes that one day they might still be friends. Jacob, on the other hand, was like, fuck you, we're not gonna be friends. He unfollowed her and deleted all posts with her in them. Now, Bridget is on vacation in Italy by herself. Maybe she broke up with Jacob because she was about to spend a summer abroad and realized dating Jacob wasn't worth sacrificing the shot at a European summer fling. Case closed. Now, the one mystery that we can't solve is who the fuck is Bridget? And why do I follow her on Instagram? I don't remember meeting her. So here we are. I still don't understand how things got this bad. It feels like everyone else can move so easily through life, and I literally can't be around people without feeling so badly about myself and having a weird existential crisis. This didn't have to happen. But the truth is, it happens like every day. The only thing that makes this time different is that I was brave enough to leave the house first. I was born in 1998. Age reveal. I grew up in the era when parents had just decided that children needed constant supervision. Parents were really afraid of perverts and predators when I was a kid. So whenever we would have play dates, they would always make one parent stay with us to supervise. Which was ironic because you know who definitely wasn't a pervert? My 8-year-old friend Zoe. You know who might have been a pervert? My friend Zoe's dad. Yeah. We didn't get molested. We just had to listen to Jason make very sexually frustrated comments while playing with Barbies. In a way, though, Jason's grumbling about how unrealistic Barbie's bodies were and how women don't dress like this anymore was really uplifting for my body image. Parents eventually realized they didn't have time to watch us constantly. They still didn't want us to go outside, though, so they were like, here's a computer, this will be safer. Which was ironic, because you know where there might not be any perverts? Outside. You know where there definitely are perverts? The internet, yeah. I found porn real quick, real quick. The call was coming from inside the house, if you know what I mean. The real pervert was the one inside of us all along. I I do think that computers prevented me from being kidnapped as a kid, though, because I was so chronically online as a child that if someone had tried to kidnap me, I would have been like, you're offering me candy? Men show me a hole on my computer at home. Step up your fucking game. When I turned 13, I got a smartphone and an Instagram, which was great because I had been stressed out by pre-algebra, but that went away immediately, and instead I was just stressed out by like never being satisfied by my face or body or personality or anything about myself. When I got to college, I went to see a psychiatrist, and she diagnosed me with anxiety and depression. During my appointment, the psychiatrist asked me what my symptoms were. I told her that I was feeling sad and scared all the time. And then I told her about these episodes where I would get to class and be dripping in sweat, if you remember. I was sweaty, short of breath, my heart was beating fast, and I was feeling panicked. What the psychiatrist didn't ask me was literally any other question. Here are a few things that I think would have been useful to ask me 9 years ago at that appointment. Have you spent your entire upbringing either online or in the presence of a trusted adult chaperone? And is college your first time earnestly being by yourself? Did you get an Instagram the same year you developed horrible social anxiety? Is your college campus set up in a way where for you to get to class, you have to walk 2 miles up 30 flights of stairs in Southern California, where the temperature is on average 110 degrees for the first 3 months of the school year? Just things to think about. I'm not a doctor. A few years ago, I noticed that all of a sudden, all of my friends were on antidepressants. And I started to ask myself, am I a huge bummer to be around? Because at the time, only 1 in 10 women were supposed to have depression, and I had 4 friends. So at most, only one of us should have had depression. And I had that role locked in from the jump. Poor choice of words. And I started to feel a little bit cheated because I've had anxiety and depression since college, and I'm used to a certain kind of treatment. If you have depression and your friends don't have depression, guess who's picking what movie we watched tonight? Me. And I choose Coraline again. It's really easy to spin things in your favor when you're the only mentally ill friend. Like, sure, I forgot to text you back for 2 months, but I was busy practicing mindfulness and living in the present moment. Sure, I didn't listen to your story, but I was busy listing 5 things I can see, 4 things I can touch, 3 things I can hear, 2 things I can smell, and 1 thing I can taste. You have to put your own oxygen mask on first before remembering your friend's birthday. But then all my friends had to go and get depression, and now it takes us 3 hours to pick what to watch. It wasn't until all of my friends copied me that I was like, you know what? I actually don't think we should go easy on people with mental illness. Tough love is the right approach. We started fighting all the time because the dynamic was thrown off. I got mad at my friend Sophia. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but we got in an argument and I was in the right, if that's helpful. And I told her that she really hurt my feelings, and she didn't apologize. She just said, I don't have the capacity for anyone to be upset with me right now. And I was like, that is so fucked up. Are you seeing my therapist? I got mad at my friend Allie because Allie's deal was that she was always 45 minutes late to everything. And nothing I tried worked. I would tell her the plans were at 7. I would get there at 7:45. She would get there at 8:30. I don't know how she did it. So finally I was like, you know what? Let's hang out at your house. You don't have to get ready. You can wear pajamas. Literally 0 effort on your part. I go to her house. As I pull into her driveway, she texts me, be there in 45 minutes. I call her and I say, please explain what's happening. She doesn't apologize. She just says, I have such bad time blindness. I said, what the fuck is time blindness? She said, oh, it's this like super common ADHD symptom where you have no concept of time. I said, that is an insane excuse for being late to everything. You said it's called time? It is nice having friends who know what you're going through. We really gave each other the time and space that we needed to heal. I'm sure I'll hear from one of them any day now. So I started to pull away from people because I just felt constantly let down by shitty, flaky behavior that I started. And before I know it, I'm barely leaving the house. I have panic attacks all the time. I sleep for 20 hours a day. I don't see people because I hate them. Thank you so much for being here. Every therapist and psychologist and psychiatrist I see diagnoses me with more mental illness and hands me a new prescription. So my energy is all over the place from the pills that I'm taking. But if I had actually looked at what was going on in my life, I might have seen things differently. My generation is now referred to as the anxious generation because our parents paid so much loving attention to us that we're all huge fucking babies now. And also we saw way too many penises online. I spent so much time on Instagram in my early 20s that I didn't realize I forgot to make plans for 2 years. Minor oversight, forgot to have friends, happens to the best of us. But instead, I was just spending all my time online being mad at people I haven't spoken to in years for being more successful than me. Pretty crazy to be mad about not getting discovered in Hollywood when you literally never go outside. I'm joking, that's exactly what TikTok is for. You guys are crushing it. I developed a drinking problem when I was young because I don't know if you guys have been to college, but you're supposed to go to college to prepare yourself for the real world, and then you get there and everyone is like, we drink from dawn till dusk around here, and then those 4 years just fly by, and then all of a sudden, very abruptly, you're supposed to get a job and a place to live, and you're like, oh no, I don't have any money for rehab. I spent it all on a theater arts degree and 300 bottles of La Marca Prosecco. And this whole time I had therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists telling me that everything was going badly in my life because my brain chemistry was broken, which made me give up on trying to fix any of it. And that's when I realized I'm not mentally ill. My life just sucks. And that's fixable. I bravely decide that I am going to leave the bathroom at this party, find Becca, catch up in person, and subtly steer the conversation towards figuring out how the fuck she knows this comedian. I find Becca in the kitchen grabbing a drink by herself. Perfect. I say, hey girlie, how are you, queen? Now that I don't drink, my personality at parties is kind of like a Midwestern mom who watches Drag Race. Just like, looking slay, cunties, do y'all have Diet Coke? Becca is thankfully very easy to talk to. She's one of those people who starts every conversation in the middle. She turns around and says, oh my god, I saw Sam the other day. She looks amazing. So do you. She told me you guys live together. Small world. Becca also has that Los Angeles speech affect where she speaks in bullet points. I say, yeah, we used to live together. I live with my boyfriend now. Becca says, amazing, congrats. I didn't see you come in. I say, yeah, speaking of coming in, how do you know David? Becca looks at me. Who the fuck is David? I say, that guy you came in with? He's like, kind of a well-known comedian. Becca says, oh, we just came into the party at the same time. I think he's friends with Anne's roommate. Very weird guy. I step out into the living room. Martin and David are playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On the carpet. Martin calls out, Viva! I walk over slowly. Martin says, David, this is my friend Viva. Viva, this is David. Martin asks if we would like to go to his bedroom to play Mario Kart. I say, absolutely. We get to Martin's bedroom. On Martin's desk, there's a framed photo of Martin standing arm in arm with a beautiful woman. I say, Martin, what is this? Martin says, oh yeah, Fun fact about me, my cousin is Emma Watson. She's super nice if you ever want to meet her.